This 8.6 has been in my shop for far too long, but I think we're getting close. Nope. That's really, really not good. This is a car that a friend brought to me after he had a shop working on it to get an engine swap done, and the shop closed down in the middle of it. If you've never taken a project car from somebody else when they're elbows deep in it, I see the issue. It's not usually a fun thing. I had to undo some stuff and redo some stuff and just start doing some stuff because they weren't as far along as I would have hoped. And but we're getting close here. So we got a lot of stuff kind of sorted out. Intake is in, we got a radiator in, I got to wire some stuff up still, but I've gotten a lot of the wiring done and figured everything out. I have a game plan now. I've been trying to keep the wiring as close to factory as possible. I've got a circuit opening relay here. That's what the AE86 ECU uses to control the fuel pump, which doesn't normally come as a part of the engine harness, but I've got that going. I've got a few things sorted out and I'm pretty excited about this. It should hopefully work turnkey as if it normally came with this engine and use 90% of the factory wiring for stuff. Where I'm at now is I've got to add a couple of inline connectors to separate the engine harness from the chassis harness as it passes through the firewall because, like I said, I've added some stuff that doesn't normally be a part of this harness, and so I'm reusing some things. And anyway, let me show you the connector I'm going to use and we'll start taking apart the interior to do the wiring. So these are some like inexpensive Deutsch style connectors from Amazon. I've been using them quite a bit on a few different builds and I've been pretty happy with them. They're not necessarily full motorsport grade, but they're good enough for something like this that's just going to be a street car. Like I said, I've used them on several other cars. What we're going to use is two 4-pin connectors because I got 4 wires to go for the engine harness inside of the car, but also one of the other things is that, well, the wiring for the wiper motor, depending on if you have an SR5 or a GTS AE86, it'll either be on the body harness or on the engine harness, the GTS on the engine harness. So I have to add some wiring for that, another inline connector, because we're going to use the SR5 wiring for that, but I need it to be able to pass through the firewall without an issue. All right, now it's time to take apart the interior of the car so we can get to work on that, running the wiring through. That was not supposed to happen. Stay. That's how that was supposed to go. Ah, success. That's full of dirt. The inside of this blower motor here is filthy, but getting this out of the way gave me perfect access to what I wanted to see. Right up yonder in this corner, boop. Come on, focus, there we go. Well, that is the hole I was talking about that wiring has to go through. So now we can go ahead and figure out lengths of stuff and how we're gonna make it work. All right, so the 4 wires for the circuit opening relay that needs to go to the engine bay is gonna be this black with red, black with white, blue with black, and green with red. So this is where I'm gonna add my inline connector. I'm just gonna snip it right here and then I'll start adding it. Here's my crude little wiring diagram. I'll pop up here of what needs to happen with this, but that should be pretty straightforward. Now, as I was looking at this harness, I did also see it has this connector. This connector right here is what normally goes to the chassis harness. So it does have it, and there are some things that I need to grab from this. So for example, these blue wires over here are actually for the wiper motor. So I can snip these and then add my inline connector here to the SR5 wiring, and that'll work, and we'll have wipers, and I don't have to do anything else to the chassis harness, which is pretty good because there's a bunch of connectors I didn't really want to touch. I went ahead and used that same connector style here for the wipers. That's what this guy is for. It's gonna be for the wipers. I flipped it around, that way you know which one is which and you're not gonna get them mixed up because they're both 4-pin. And here is inside of the car where that will connect to for the wipers to function. And yeah, wipers are done. There's just a few more things for the ECU. I forgot to bring some tools to finish the wiring, so I have to run home and grab that. It's probably be another day or so, and then I'll be back out here working on it. Okay, we're back, and I think I've got things all finally figured out, all the stuff I need to finish the wiring for this. I actually had to stop by my local hardware store to go pick up some weird nuts for the fuel pump, for the inline pump, because normally it comes with the nuts for the wires to go on top of it, and this one didn't. I mean, maybe it did, but just when I got the car, there was nothing on it. So I found the right size nuts from the hardware store, about 4 different sizes, and now I'm gonna finish wrapping up the wiring for the fuel pump, get that all done. The rest of the couple of wires for hopefully everything for the circuit opening relay. I don't know if we'll get the cold start injector done because there's some weird stuff. We might need another part to add. It's like the thermo switch that goes into the water housing or the coolant outlet, whatever. I'm not quite sure if we'll get that done, but at least we'll get the fuel pump in, and we should be at least, I think, ready to start, or at the very least, we'll be able to crank it to make sure everything is working. We'll hear the fuel pump firing up. At least that's my goal here. I'm taking some of the leftover wire from the alternator wiring I did earlier, and we're gonna repurpose that for the fuel pump wiring. And this is a 16 gauge. It's yellow, so it doesn't quite match the blue of the factory harness, but this should be good enough because really that's what I want. I just want this to be wired and done. Okay, this is a bit of a spaghetti mess, but I'll try and explain everything that I just did. This right here is the connector on the engine harness that normally runs a lot of stuff to the circuit opening relay on the body harness. So what I've done is essentially I've replaced this connector with this guy, this 4-wire Deutsch connector, whatever. So this white wire goes to the starter, and it should tie into the cold start injector when I get that done. The yellow wire goes to the fuel pump. I tied this red wire here in to the red wire from this guy, and that actually is the power circuit that runs from the EFI relay over here. Since this is a SR5 front harness, I kind of had to butcher one of my spare harnesses to pull some pins, but that's what this wire is here. That's running to this little black connector down here, and that runs all of the power stuff for the fuel injection system, the ECU, and everything. So that is all done. It started raining, so it's getting hot and very humid here, and it's late. I've been working late into the night here. I didn't film much because I was just trying to get as much done as possible. So we'll come back again after I get some sleep to be able to wrap up a lot of the stuff to be able to start it. We are so dang close, and in this video, I think we're gonna get it started, man. After a couple nights sleep and thought, we're so close to getting this done. I got a lot of the wiring done in between last video and this video, just little things tidying it up. I had to run the starter wire, had to run a few more wires. We are so close. I still need to add a couple of grounds to everything. And then I'm gonna bleed the clutch here in a moment. A few more grounds. I've got the fuel pump pretty much wired up here. You can see here's our power wire down there. And then I've got a ground wire. I've just gotta add the ground wire over here. And then that will be done. All the wiring for the ECUs ran except for one constant power wire that I have to run inside of the car. I'm not super excited about this, but I've got to run a wire for this guy down here. That has to come from the fuse box over there, so I got to go ahead and do that. I also need to wire the cooling fan controller. That's right there. That's just going to take me a couple of minutes. And technically this still needs an air filter and some hose clamps. But other than that, I think that's it for it to run. And then I've got to install that new panhard bar, which that goes in the back under the rear axle, and gauges. So I think we're gonna get it done today, fingers crossed. For bleeding the clutch, I'm gonna show you guys one of my favorite tools. This is just like a syringe that's got a rubber tip on the end of it, so you can seal it in and just use this to bleed. You don't have to pump the pedal at all. Inside of here, you can see there's a, kind of a fitting down there. This just fits perfectly in there. You put some pressure into it, you push the injector bit, and that forces fluid through the entire clutch system, all the way to the slave cylinder as long as you've got the bleeder cracked. So we're gonna go ahead and do that right now. Okay, come on. You can see the fluid that came out of it was pretty gross. So we're gonna do this a couple of times and so we can make sure we get some real fresh fluid, some fresh clutch fluid through it. I want it to be nice and clear. I don't want it to have any issues later with water or junk in it causing problems. So just gonna make sure we get all nice, good, clean fluid through it. All right, with the clutch and everything all hooked up and bled and all that, I think we're ready to go ahead and try starting it, or at least not starting it, but turning it over. I already disconnected the starter and hit the key to hear the fuel pump run. The fuel pump on this only runs when you go to the start position, like to crank it. So I checked that, heard the fuel pump running, so I've got fuel. I don't know if I've got good fuel pressure, but at least I've got fuel. So now we're gonna turn it over and see what happens. And I've got this is an inline spark tester. I've got that hooked up. So if it doesn't start, at least gives me an idea to see, am I missing spark? Which if I'm missing spark, it means I'm missing tach signal, which means something in the distributor or the ECU or something like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and spin it over now and see what happens. All right, we got the big camera out there. I've got also my cell phone here so we can film from both ends. Yeah, there's that buzzer. That, oh, nope. That doesn't sound right. The tach wasn't moving, and that was spinning too quickly. Down here on the ground, I've got signs of what I'm pretty sure happened. See all those black chunks down there? I hope I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Oh! That's the timing belt. And it's broken. Well, that camshaft moves, and that camshaft doesn't. That's not good. That's really not good. That's really, really not good. That's really bad news. This was a good engine before, because this came from Brandon. I heard this run in his car. Crap. I'm gonna pull the valve cover real quick and see if I can see what's wrong on that side. I don't know. This is bad. This is really bad. So that one is fine. That, I see the issue. Okay, I'm gonna try and highlight the issue here. You can see down in here on that first one, those buckets are up because the lobe is over here, right? This one, the buckets are down because the lobe is pointed down. This one, lobes are up. That bucket, oh my gosh, focus. That bucket, as well as the one on the other side, are both down for cylinder 3. I don't know if that means that those valves are stuck down, if those valves are broken, everything's dropped out. I have no idea. I'm gonna stop right here. I gotta get with my friend. I don't know what he wants me to do. This needs significantly more work than I anticipated. Everything is ready pretty much, except for the engine now. This sucks. So, thanks for watching. See you next time, and I guess tune in to see what my friend decides what to do.